for one terrifying moment when the boy had poked his fingers through the mouse hole. A hungry young mouse named Ralph eagerly watched everything that went on in room 215. At first he was disappointed at the size of the boy who went to occupy the room. A little child, preferably 2 or even 3 children, would have been better. Little messy children were always considerate about leaving crumbs on the floor. Oh well, at least these people did not have a dog. If there was one thing Ralph disliked, it was a Snoopy dog. Next, Ralph felt hopeful. Medium-sized boys were almost always be counted on to leave a sticky candy wrapper on the floor or a bag of peanuts, and it's on the bedside table, where Ralph could reach them by climbing up the telephone cord. With a boy this size, the food, though not be apt to be plentiful, but they're sure to be of good quality. The third emotion felt by Ralph was joy when the boy laid the apple core by the telephone. This was followed by despair when the mother dropped the core into the metal wastebasket. Ralph knew that anything at the bottom of the metal wastebasket was lost to a mouse forever. A mouse lives not by crumbs alone, and so Ralph experienced still another emotion. This time food was not the cause of it. Ralph was eager, excited, and curious, and impatient all at once. The emotion was so strong it made him forget his empty stomach. It was caused by those little cars, especially the motorcycle and the sound the boy made. The sound seemed something satisfying to Ralph, as he'd been waiting all his life to hear it. Went the boy to the mouse. The sound spoke of highways and speed, of distance and danger, and whiskers blown back by the wind. The instant the family left the room to go to dinner, Ralph scurried out of the mouse hole and across the threadbare carpet to the telephone cord, which came out of a hole in the floor beside the bedside table. "Ralph," scolded his mother from the mouse hole, "you stay away from that telephone cord." Ralph's mother was a great worrier. She worried because this hotel was old and run down, and because so many of the rooms were often empty with no careless guests to leave behind for mice. She was worried about the rumor that the hotel was to be torn down. When the new highway came through, she was worried about her children finding aspirin tablets. Ralph's father tried to carry an aspirin tablet in his cheek. The aspirin had dissolved with unexpected suddenness, and Ralph's father had been poisoned. Since then, no member of the family would think of even touching an aspirin tablet. This did not prevent Ralph's mother from worrying. Most of all, Ralph's mother worried about Ralph. She worried because he was a reckless mouse who stayed out late in the daytime, when he should have been home and safe in bed. She worried when Ralph climbed the curtain to sit on the windowsill to watch the chipmunks in the pine tree outside and the cars in the parking lot below. She worried because Ralph wanted to go exploring down on the hall instead of traveling underneath the floorboards like a sensible mouse. Heaven only knows what dangers he might have met in the hall maids, bellboys, and perhaps even cats, or even worse, vacuum cleaners. Ralph's mother had a horror of vacuum cleaners. Ralph, who used to get his mother's worries, got a good running start and already was halfway up the telephone cord. "Remember your Uncle Victor?" his mother called after him. Ralph did not hear. He climbed the cord up to the telephone, jumped down, and ran to the row of cars. At the end, there was a motorcycle. Ralph started at it and then walked over and kicked a tire. Close up, the motorcycle looked even better than he had expected. It was new and shiny and had a good set of tires. Ralph walked all around it, examining the pair of Chronicle mufflers and the engine that had a clutch. It had a little license plate, so it'd be legal to ride it. "Boy!" said Ralph to himself, his whiskers quivering with excitement. "Boy, oh boy!" Feeling that was the most important moment in his life, he took hold of the hand grips. They felt good and solid beneath his paws. Yes, this motorcycle was a good machine, all right. He could tell by the feel. Ralph threw a leg over the motorcycle and sat jauntily on the plastic seat. He bounced up and down. The seat was curved right to fit a mouse. But how did he start the motorcycle? Ralph did not know. He didn't even know how to start it, because he couldn't do much writing up here on the bedside table. He considered pushing the motorcycle off and onto the floor, but he did not want to risk damage to such a vulnerable machine. Ralph bounced up and down on the seat a couple more times and looked around for some way to start the motorcycle. He pulled a lever or two, but nothing happened. Then a terrible little thought swelled his pleasure. This was only a toy. It would not run at all. Ralph, who had watched many children in room 215, picked up a lot of information about toys. He had seen a boy from Cedar Rapids throw his model airplane on the floor because he could not make its plastic parts fit properly. A little girl had burst into tears and ran, sobbing, to her mother when her doll's arm had come out of its socket. And then there was that nice boy, the potato chip nibbler, who stamped his feet because the batteries kept falling out of his car. But this toy could not be like all those other toys he had seen. It had looked too perfect, and its wire spokes in the wheels and the pair of shiny chromium exhaust pipes. It would not be right if it did not run. It would not be fair. A motorcycle that looked this real, as this one, had to run. The secret of making it run was perfectly simple if only Ralph had someone to show him what it was. Ralph was not satisfied just sitting on the motorcycle. Ralph craved action. After all, what was a motorcycle? For it was not. For if it wasn't action, who needed motorcycle riding lessons? Not Ralph. He tried pushing himself along with his feet. This was not nearly fast enough, but it was better than nothing. He moved his feet along the tabletop and then lifted them up while he coasted, feeling braver. He bent down over the handlebars and worked his feet still faster towards the edge of the bedside table. He worked up a little speed. He could coast around the corner. He scrambled his feet on the top to gain momentum. In a split second, he would steer to the left. At that moment, the bell on the telephone rang, half a ring, so close that it seemed to pierce the middle of Ralph's bones. It rang just that half ring as the girl at the switchboard realized she had rung the wrong room and had jerked out of the cord before the ring was finished. That half of a ring was enough. It shattered Ralph's nerves and terrified him that he forgot all about steering. It jumbled his thoughts until he forgot to drag his heels for the brake. He was so terrified. Let go of the hand grips. The momentum of the motorcycle carried him forward over the edge of the table. Down through space tumbled Ralph with the motorcycle. He tried to straighten out and turn to fall into a leap, but the motorcycle got in his way. He grabbed in vain at the air with both paws. There was nothing to clutch, nothing to save him, only empty air for a fleeting instant. He thought of his poor old Uncle Victor. That was the instant the motorcycle landed with a crash and the metal basket. Ralph fell in a heap beside the motorcycle and lay still.